Welcome, my name is Matt, aka Road to 88. We are getting into Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, mods, Chewbacca. You can take a look at my first video in the mods playlist where I give the definitive breakdowns of the types of characters as well as the different types of mods. swgoh.gg gives recommendations. As usual, in each of my videos, I tend to give little back info on each of the characters that I do know. And I know a lot about Chewbacca. I've read a lot of books with a lot of its backstories. And I also know why, one of many reasons why some of the most intense part of the fan wars from the George Lucas era of Star Wars against Disney producers is where it's at, or how it got started. One of them being Disney disrespecting Chewbacca's death. In Star Wars: The New Jedi Order, Dark Tide 1 Onslaught. The New Jedi Order, there was no Imperial remnants going on. That was largely dealt with within Glove of Darth Vader and many of the books following after that, immediately after Return of the Jedi. Chewbacca is from the planet Kashyyyk, and I accidentally took this picture sideways, but if you can flip to the screen, there's Kashyyyk. His best friend Han Solo, Corellia, not that far from each other. But Chewbacca he dies over 200 years old. He was well over 200 years old when he died, which means he goes even before the Clone Wars. He came from a respected family, Wookiee family on Kashyyyk, a pretty well-respected family, but they're kind of over the course of his years. I mean, he has seen some wars. He has seen wars even before the Clone Wars. He's had to deal with Trandoshans, who like to go hunting for Wookiees. He's had to deal with so much in the course of his 200 years that when it came time to die, it was a thing of sacrifice. Chewbacca is full of tenacity. Okay? He has been through hell and back in the course of his life. He has been through wars. He has been through enslavement. He has watched his own family be destroyed. And when he met Han, that kind of became a new paradigm for him. It was a new hope for Chewbacca. That's probably one of the reasons why Han turned the Millennium Falcon around to go help Luke at the Death Star. If you look at how Chewbacca looked at Han when Han was trying to leave Yavin before the battle, I mean, you could tell Chewbacca did not want to leave. And even in the books, he did not want to leave. I mean, he argues with Han in the book. Understanding Chewbacca's backstory lends a lot of perspective. And the mods that they want us to put on him, the tenacity, makes a lot of sense when you take the time to get to know his character. Hell, he had great tenacity with that holotable chess game. I mean, it's amazing. He never ripped that thing out of the Falcon. He always lost at the game, but he never gave up. He was always looking for a solution. The Rebels was one of his solutions. Han became a solution for him in his life. What happens at this point, there was no Imperial remnants being dealt with. I mean, I don't doubt they were trickled, scarcely across the galaxy the way the Jedi ended up. But the Yuuzhan Vongs became the new biggest threat in the New Jedi Order. Previous to this book series, and it is almost crucial, almost important to know about some of these books that were supposed to have been preludes for what became The Force Awakening, and why so much of my generation has bashed on it. We've been accused of being haters. That's coming from Disney Generation fans. As I said, our war is not against the fans, it's with the producers. Our position with the fans is annoyance from ignorance. And it's because of this. Young Jedi Knights, Star Wars Young Jedi Knights. It covers the kids. It gets deeper into the kids. Now, the kids were already born before this. But the kids for the Solo family were twin siblings. Jason and Jaden, brother and sister twins. The youngest was Anakin Solo. It wasn't until the New Jedi Order that Luke Skywalker's Sith converted wife, Mara Jade, eventually gave birth to their son, Ben Skywalker. Between Luke and Leia, Luke had the most reasons for a nostalgic past history with Obi-Wan Kenobi than Leia ever did. In fact, there's no backstories of Leia ever meeting Obi-Wan. Now, Disney threw in Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 1, and okay, some of us were willing to humor it. It wasn't too bad. But really, the majority of the backstory of Leia's understanding of Obi-Wan is whatever Bail Organa ever told her. It was never really any interactions. She hardly had any interactions, if any at all. But Luke, now he grew up with Ben right there with him on Tatooine. His uncle may have kind of made sure there was a distance between the two. He was skeptical of old Ben, and it's because of Luke's father, and for good reasons, understandable reasons. But Luke still had nostalgic fondness for Obi-Wan, so he named his son after old Ben. And that makes the most sense between Luke and Leia. But the second book in the New Jedi Order, one of the New Republic bases was under attack. And a ship was about to crash on top of Anakin Solo. Han Solo watched Chewbacca swoop under that ship, pick his son up and toss him out from under the way, and took the crushing. That is Chewbacca's tenacity, and that is his level of sacrifice for someone who made a difference to his need for justice against the Empire. So when Disney brought, within the first 5-10 minutes that Disney brought Chewbacca back in Force Awakening, that right there was big red flag number one, along with the fact that the rebels had the New Republic going on. There would be no need for the resistance, and it was no Imperial remnant. It was the Yuuzhan Vongs. Everything in the first 5-10 minutes of the movie was already a royal nightmare. But the second we saw Chewbacca, now that was just disrespect to the dead. And then when the fans, my generation of fans, I don't doubt for a second, pointed that out to Disney, they teased about his death of possibly being blown up in Last Jedi. They did not back their position of the mistake they made by just teasing us with that. They knew how we felt about that, and they just mocked us with it. That scene of Chewbacca possibly blowing up in the ship was Disney mocking this George Lucas generation era of Star Wars fans with that crap. Instead of just scrapping their mistake, admitting they made a mistake, and read the books and start over again. They lost a lot of George Lucas Star Wars fans because of stunts like that. Because of those stunts. I'm barely hanging on. One reason I'm hanging on, it saved me from childhood suicide. I'm not religious to Star Wars, but I am passionate. And it is because of the spiritual principles that George Lucas applied into Star Wars. Disney has changed it into a political controversial nonsense that George Lucas was never trying to put into Star Wars. Ever. Political is not universal, whereas spiritual principles are universal to all walks of life. And for a company and a nation that joins the club and complaining about there being too much division, they're only contributing to more division when they do that. They're not taking that into account. So all of that aside, because I am a passionate fan for Star Wars, I am skeptical when it comes to Disney Star Wars, and I definitely hate Disney's sequel trilogy, and for so many reasons, and one of the reasons is how they handled Chewbacca. Chewbacca, the second he showed up on screen, knowing everything I read about Chewbacca, and knowing what I read about his death, and then finding out what they were doing about Han and Leia's kids, on top of that, I mean, it was an epic nightmare after nightmare after nightmare, just starting within the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. I mean, and when they knew they started a fan war, they decided to back that up by doing more damage in Last Jedi, teasing Chewbacca's death against us when they damn well knew we were taking it serious. Not that anyone wanted Chewbacca to die. Nobody does. We love Chewbacca. He's a good character. He's a hell of a character. We love him. But the guy was 200 years old. Look at it this way, too. The guy was over 200 years old. He'd been through the Clone Wars. He'd been through enslavement. He'd been through the Empire's War. He was getting caught up in the beginning of the Yuuzhan Vong invading the galaxy. This guy had lived his whole life starting from a respectable family on the planet Kashyyyk, and it was just one thing after another his whole 200 years of life, hardly ever catching a break. He finally he does what Chewbacca was well expected to do. He sacrificed himself for his best buddy, Han Solo, his son. And Disney had to bring him back. That is what pisses so many of us off. They couldn't just allow him to be dead and be at peace finally, And I think that's what agitates so many of us, or some of us, from the George Lucas era generation, not the Disney generation fans, because they don't read. This is why I'm kind of doing a lot of this, because I know a lot of y'all don't read the books, and I'm suggesting books y'all might want to check out too, because you guys, a lot of times y'all assume that we're just haters. No, we're not. We grew up passionate about these things, and we're defending what we grew up loving. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm defending what I grew up loving. I don't love death. I love Chewbacca, and I also respect what he did in the course of his life, and respect that at some point he needed that peace. And that's the way I look at it. Disney could not just let bygones be bygones. They had to poke at it again. Chewbacca is an attacker moving forward. We're gonna do mods here. I like to give little back references on characters. And Chewbacca is a touchy one, especially with what they did with the sequel trilogy. When we talk about they did damage, this is one of the things they did damage about, and it was a critical one. One of the many critical damages they made. Chewbacca is an attacker, and swgoh.gg recommends giving him triple tenacity. Now, tenacity, if you go back to my first video at the mods playlist, I broke down definitively the definitions of each character's type of characters: the support, the tank, the health, and attackers. Well, Chewbacca's an attacker, so he fights. He's gonna assault. He's gonna attack. He's gonna hit. That's what he's designed to do. And honestly, I'm surprised they don't have him as a tank, considering how big he is. But they recommend giving him triple tenacity. Tenacity is you'll find a solution. You're gonna find a solution. You do not believe in giving up. You do not believe in quitting. You do not rest until whatever you're in the middle of is resolved. You put Chewbacca in a fight, he'll do whatever he can to defend those he loves. Hence, that book I pointed out that Disney really needed to respect before they did Force Awakening. That was part of his tenacity. Tenacity also holds a definition of hard to be torn apart. It takes a lot to bring Chewbacca down. It took an entire ship to take Chewbacca down. Even in the book and in the movies. He'll help find ways to fight. If anything, he's a big reason why Han turned the Falcon around to go help Luke at the Death Star in A New Hope. I mean, this guy got put into enslavement because of the Empire. When the clones turned on his own people, and he had to run off with Yoda. Him and Yoda had to run away because of the betrayal from the Empire, from the Republic, or the Empire technically. He still found a way, and he got the help. He found the help he needed. He found the people he needed to be surrounded by, and he found the vengeance, the avenge that, or the basically the answer that he needed for personal resolution after everything that had happened with Kashyyyk and his own people from the Empire. He found it with the rebels. Tenacity. He will find a solution. He will find his way through a fight. He doesn't care. He's been through enough. He's had enough. And when he goes out in a fight, you can try to do whatever you can to try to block him, but that tenacity is going to make him fight harder. Basically just plow right through the enemy. That's what it's going to do with him. You basically have made a tank out of this guy. He's going to punch like, he's going to attack with a tank-like punch is what he's going to do. So, that is Chewbacca, mods, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comments, questions, suggestions down below. I realized I got pretty passionate and heated with this video, and I know I did with a couple others. I'm not religious about Star Wars, but I am passionate. It made a huge difference to me in my life growing up, and as a kid, the spiritual attributes that Lucas supplied into the Star Wars, it saved me from childhood suicide. So yeah, I'm very passionate about this. Chewbacca is a good character, and he's a character that deserves a hell of a lot of respect, and I wish Disney did. This is one thing that does upset me about Disney, is their disrespect towards Chewbacca. But as I said, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comments, questions, suggestions down below. I'm going to cool down before I do another video, because I prefer being that way. And I imagine y'all do too. I will see you on whatever next video I have, and may the Force be with you. Thank you for following.